everyone. Welcome to Event Exchange, a series by Gevme where we dive into deep conversations with experts shaping the future of events. I'm your host Kirat, and today I'll be talking to Denis Zekic, social selling and marketing consultancy founder at C2.com. Welcome, Dennis. Thanks for joining us today in today's episode. For today, we're going to be talking a lot with Dennis about social selling and creating an effective LinkedIn marketing strategy for your events. So let's get started. Hi, Dennis. Welcome. Could you share a little bit with us more about yourself and what you do at Cedu.com?
Hello, Kirat. Thank you very much for inviting me to this talk today. Tiny bit about myself. I've been in online sales and marketing for most of my professional career. I usually make a joke out of it and say I started selling and marketing goods online before people even knew what the internet was, and certainly before some people were even born. It does make me a little bit of a dinosaur, but at the same time, it gives me an enormous amount of expertise and experience in everything that comes to online sales and marketing. I was fortunate enough that I spent most of my career with some market leading organizations globally. Worked at the top as a top executive for most of those organizations, and a few years ago I left my corporate world and I started my own consultancy, which is called C2.com. So basically, today, C2.com is my consultancy, and I help people like you introduced me already. I help people with social selling and marketing, LinkedIn as my channel of preference.
Wonderful. And that's a great segue into my next question because today we want to talk about social selling. So, why do you think LinkedIn should be an important part of one's event marketing strategy?
Okay, there's several things that I recognized using LinkedIn is people tend to think that LinkedIn is just a glorified CV or resume online, but LinkedIn is so much more than that. What I realized early on is, and I call LinkedIn as the biggest business directory in the world. Among several things, it's the biggest business directory. So within few clicks, you can very quickly find out any key stakeholders or decision makers in any companies around the world. And, and based on that, once you discover those people very quickly and easily, then you're only a few clicks away from starting conversation with them. Obviously, if you do the things in the right way, there's no reason why you shouldn't be able to start communicating and engaging with those decision makers. And when you put those things together, then you can find out on the other side of the equation that you can start building business and business connections and everything that comes after that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, can you tell us a little bit about how event marketers can optimize LinkedIn for their events? And if you could tell us about some features that they could leverage on.
Okay, LinkedIn released their LinkedIn events. I can't tell you exactly when it was, but it's probably about 2 years ago. They released LinkedIn events, and immediately I recognized a fantastic opportunity there that you can list your event. It doesn't have to be run by LinkedIn Live. Most of the time, you can use other platforms outside of the LinkedIn, such as yours or any other platform of your choice. But what LinkedIn was good is once you build the audience, you can very easily invite that audience to come to your event. If I go back when I said LinkedIn is the biggest business directory, so very easily you can define who your target audience for the event is. And if you identify that audience, very easily also you can invite them to come to that event. So that's what I think is the major benefit of using LinkedIn for events is identifying the right audience and then inviting the audience to your events.
Yep, yep. And I think what's great about, like you mentioned, it's the whole business directory. But
Hmm.
how can event marketers attract the right professionals for their particular events and persuade them to register for the event?
Like I said, the best way is you need to identify your audience. First of all, you need to figure out who is the best attendees for your event, conference, or whatever you run, who will benefit most out of what are you covering, of the topics that you'll be talking about. And once you identify who are those people who will get the value out of that event, then you start finding them. You need to identify them. Like I said, are you looking for large companies, or are you looking for CEOs, or are you looking for marketers, are you looking for HR professionals? And based on that, you can find that audience, and also the territory as well. Are you location based, or are you global? And then all of these parameters can be very easily filtered out
Yeah.
in LinkedIn, using LinkedIn search.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that is the question: how do you engage with that audience and invite them to
Right. So
event?
step one, define the audience and, really look at what
Mm,
target segment you're looking at, and then go about with playing around with how you attract them. So
correct.
that's great. In terms of attracting audience to come onto your LinkedIn events and utilizing LinkedIn as a platform to do that, there's really a few options that event planners or event organizations are using. Is one way is to look at using an individual's profile to promote the event. The
Hmm.
other way would be to use an organization's page to promote it. So, how do you determine what's the right way to go about it? What's the success formula there?
Can you just repeat one thing?
Yeah.
Are you looking for event organizers?
Hmm.
Do they use personal profiles or pages, or is it for the audience?
Yeah. So, when you do host an event as an event organizer, you would either promote that event using the brand's page or an
Okay,
organization's
I
page. Or,
understand.
yeah.
Okay, I understand that. So yes, you do have two options. One is you can run it as an individual,
Yeah.
or you can run it as a company. If you run it as a company, there is an addition to that you can collect whoever registered for your event on LinkedIn. You can collect their email addresses. If you do it as an individual, in that case, perhaps LinkedIn doesn't allow you to download email addresses. But then again, it depends on the platform that you are going to host. This becomes a tiny bit technical here.
Yeah.
You need to make a decision where are you hosting the event. So if it's a platform like yours, the audience will register at your for your event, and then you will get their email addresses
Yeah.
at your page. So in that case, you don't need really email addresses on LinkedIn itself. So that's one difference between personal and company page. Second thing is, if you do run it as a company, if you list it under the company brand, your event, very important is to name who the speakers are going to be, because that's another feature on LinkedIn, to name the speakers. Because at the end of the day, social media, and I always emphasize this, social media is engagement between people, between users, between individuals, more than brand and then individual. Yes, maybe websites and some other channels are good for that, but when it comes to social media, the best the best results are always person to person.
Mhm.
So in that case, if you do run it as a company, make sure that you list all your speakers in the event, and also involve the organization, everyone who is in your company, to share that through their personal profiles, as well as, again, they can invite people through their personal profiles,
Mm.
their audiences, to the event. There is a limit, by the way, just to say, that's another technical thing. You can invite up to 1,000 people a week to your event on LinkedIn. But that doesn't stop. So let's say if it's 5 people in the organization,
Yeah.
each one of these 5 people can invite up to 1,000 users to that event. So as you can see, the benefit of involving everyone in the organization is actually multiple.
Yeah. And is that limitation also on company pages, would you say?
Yes,
Okay,
it is one. Um, well, again, the individuals invite. So whoever is, you as an individual invite up to 1,000.
got it, got it. Talking a little bit about promotion still. So, what are your thoughts on LinkedIn ads? Do you think they're worth it?
Oh, LinkedIn ads.
Yeah,
Okay, so it depends really at what stage of event, how would I say, promotion you are. Most of my clients and people that I work with, I always say, we let's get to the advertising option once we exhaust the natural and organic options.
right,
People tend to switch on advertising before they even think how organically they can do it. I can tell you, I mean, advertising on LinkedIn is probably, I don't know, three, four, five times more expensive than Facebook. I mean, some people say it's twice as expensive, but in my experience, it could be even five times more expensive
yeah.
than advertising on Facebook or Google. So, it costs more, and then results. I always find out the results from the organic outreach being better than through paid.
Right. Right. That's interesting to know actually, because paid advertisements have become quite popular in driving
Hmm.
driving the number of attendees. So that's interesting to know that LinkedIn ads do cost more in as for what you've seen in your experience.
Hmm.
Let's talk a little bit about event content. Um,
Hmm.
how can event marketers repurpose their event content for specifically for LinkedIn
Okay. When you say repurposing, that's probably after the event,
yeah
or are you talking before the event?
after the event yeah
Okay, after the event, again, if you do record your event, like any other event, really, you can always dissect it into smaller, either videos or how would I say, small snapshots of what was discussed over there, some takeaways from the event, and you can vary in the format. It could be a video, it could be a text, it could be an images, it could be bullet points, it could be a PDF, actually like a little scroll. So you can always follow up after that with as a content uh, on LinkedIn. But if you are thinking about engaging with the audience who came to the event in a way through other means, then obviously if you have collected your email addresses, then you should stay in touch with attendees via email after that. Obviously, you need to make sure that they opted in, and then you just keep them in your email campaign
yeah
with their email addresses, and keep communicating through that channel afterwards.
yeah
Again, some of people who have seen you on LinkedIn will connect by default. People, when you see that you are a speaker, and if they come to your event, they do ask you to connect with you, and then as a connection, they may see all of those little snippets of what you covered at the event as a content on LinkedIn as well.
nice which is sort of brings me to my next question more about community and how you can go about building it. So how would you go about building a community on LinkedIn?
Okay, that's not a simple question to answer, because there's quite a lot to be said about building community on LinkedIn. But one I would probably put on the top of my
Yeah,
list of importance is the quality of the network rather than the size. Social media, for one reason or another, and that probably comes from other channels like Instagram and Facebook, where the currency of what you do is the number of of your followers. I think that has started coming down drastically in recent months and years, where the size of your network doesn't necessarily mean the quality of of your engagement. So that's what I was, sometimes people think when they see, oh, this person has, I don't know, 50,000, 100,000 followers, that means that they are really good. You always look at their engagement. I know when I come across people who have large networks, and if I see that they have a very small engagement with their network, that means that the, the connections and followers they have are not of good quality. So for me, quality number one over quantity, which means find the audience, the most important people that you need to have in your follower group or in your connections is somebody who you think you can engage and potentially do business with. So remember, at the end of the day, LinkedIn is all about business. We are there because we want to improve either our career, we learn, we engage with others, and potentially help us earn more money. So again, think about who you're connecting. I personally, for example, I probably, if I was to put the percentage, I accept maybe about 20%, 25% of all connection requests that come to my LinkedIn. If I see that the people are just sending me connection requests for the sake of being connected, and if I can't see anything that I may potentially do in the future with that person, I just decide not to connect.
Nice. Yeah. No, that makes sense. I completely agree to the whole
Mm,
quality
mm,
over quantity as a platform because like you said, LinkedIn, we're here to it's kind of for businesses to drive their growth and make meaningful connections. Um,
mm,
so yeah, so let's we also read about you are organizing LinkedIn boot camps. And
mhm.
that's an event that you're sort of organizing on your side. So can you share a little bit about how you optimize LinkedIn as a platform to promote it?
Okay, so I think the question before that is what is the strategy?
Mm,
What
sure.
my objective is, what is my strategy, and how do I use LinkedIn there?
Yeah.
My objective is to get in touch, first of all, uh, to get in touch for people to realize what I provide and how they can benefit from what I provide. So that's something that I would like to put in front of people. And then one of my sales funnels is to create an event where I talk about the topic which people are interested in. There's quite a few people who are interested in lead generation and how they can use LinkedIn as a lead generation platform. So, a first step, like an introductory to myself, so people can learn about my expertise and what I can tell about the subject. I give them a free webinar, which is structured in a way that I inform them in a short period of time. I give them access to my methodology, which I wrote a book about. I call it LinkedIn 5 step uh, formula, or it's a 5 step methodology. So I give them introduction to it. I explain what those 5 steps are, and because it's a short period of time, then I invite them to come to a more in-depth training, which I call bootcamp, and it's like a 5 hour training. And then small percentage, no small percentage, a percentage of people who come to my free webinars, they offshoot and they do come to my boot camps. So that is my funnel looks like. And on top of it, whatever you are expert in, just tell the world, showcase your expertise. And out of that, by default, you will find the right audience who will say, aha, I recognize that you're an expert. Can you please help me further? And after that, you just need to identify how your product offer works. So what I say, design it in a way that people understand it. Then you offer to them, and then you build business from
Yeah.
there on. I'm
S-
not really sure if this
Yeah.
was the answer you were
No,
looking for,
actually,
but
that's a good introduction about the whole boot camp and what's the thought process behind having it. So that's great. But how did you apply social selling for this particular event?
the boot camp.
Yes, for the boot camp.
Okay, so for me, social selling first, the people. try to define what social selling is.
Sure.
And some people ask me, well, Dennis, what's social selling? In very simple terms, for me, is using social media channels in order to generate business.
Hmm.
Very short, I would say, definition. But in order to generate business, obviously, you need to identify the right audience and engage with that audience. So for me, that's my social selling part, is finding the audience. I told you I don't connect with everybody. The audience that I connect with is the audience that I think will come to my events, that I can eventually have a longer relationship after that, and potentially I can convert them into my clients. So as you can see, that is like my path,
Yeah.
social selling path. So I put it in front, find the audience, I tell them, listen, I can help you with this. I'm specializing in this topic. Come to my event, it's free of charge. I'll showcase my expertise, and after that, it's more or less like a sales process.
Wonderful. Uh, and you just spoke about having published a book called Social Selling and Marketing LinkedIn Magic 5 Formula.
Yes.
Yeah, so as a wrap up, would you be able to tell us a little bit more about the LinkedIn Magic 5 Formula and how does it affect event marketers?
Right. Okay. So my LinkedIn magic formula is based on a very simple principle. I call it social sales and marketing funnel. So the traditional sales funnel, I tend to explain it. There's a massive wastage. You advertise, whenever you advertise, you tend to convert very small number of your audience, because majority of your audience will never be interested in what you advertise. Just think about, I don't know, paper advertising, magazine advertising. Even though you advertise in a papers and magazines where you assume that the readership is the right audience, eventually you end up with very few people who will see your advert or follow up on your advert. And I always say the wastage is massive. With social sales and marketing funnel, you start with the audience of your choice. You find who you wish to connect with, who you identified as the right people who you can help with, and that's where it starts. And my sales and marketing funnel is usually like this, where you put them advertising, and then everything sips down. With social sales and marketing, slightly different. You start with very small group of people. Actually, it's not small. It's small. It could be a large group, but it's very
It's
focused.
very
I
targeted.
call it laser focus group. Yes, you start with them, then you come down, and then you go in engagement, because social media. Remember, it's an engagement platform. You engage with them, and eventually you start funneling down into your customers. So based on that, my 5 step method is relatively simple. The first step is, I call it positioning, where you need position yourself, explain to your audience that you are an expert and specialist, why you're different, how you help your clients, who your clients are. Just be clear, very simple bullet points. Explain how you work with, and obviously give them call to action. If you offer a free consultation or free event or whatever
Yeah.
it is, just give them an option to start engaging with you. So positioning is telling the world that you're the right expert for them. And the second one is prospecting, which is identifying the right persona of your audience, and then just creating it, who they are. They financial directors? Are they CEO, heads of marketing? Who are they? You just identify parameters which you can use in LinkedIn filters to find them. So once you find them, that's my second step. It's called prospecting. Once you identify them, once you have a list, then you go to the next step, which is connecting. Now, connecting and asking these people to connect with you in the best ways, in the right way, rather than spamming them. That's what we see every day on LinkedIn. People just say and spam and say, "Hi there, my name is this. We provide A, B, and C. We help da da da," and they send you massive direct messages which you never asked for. You never know who they are, and they start bombarding you. So when I come to my stage number 3, when I say connecting is nothing else than just connecting. Don't start spamming people and telling them how you run the world. Just connect. Conversions and everything else happens in the following step, which is engagement or engaging. That's where you start explaining to people how you help others. And engagement is in various forms, through content, the videos and all of that, which we mentioned earlier. But I always say the first form of engagement is commenting on other people's content.
Hmm.
And that's another thing which LinkedIn is. You remember I said LinkedIn is the biggest business directory in the world.
Yeah.
Also, LinkedIn is a massive content search platform where you can search for any content you want on the top right corner. You have that search. You find the content where people talk about the subject or topic that you are expert in. Jump in the conversation. And another thing which I always say, I refer to LinkedIn. I say LinkedIn is the biggest business event in the world. It runs 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. It never stops, it never sleeps. And it's a networking event. And that's how you need to treat it, like any other offline networking event. Meet with people, start engaging, talk about different topics, see who they are, what their needs are, and so on and so forth. And that's the engagement part. And then out of that engagement, if you build the relationships, then the next step obviously is talking about sending proposals, inviting to how they say, to
Yep.
product demos and things like that, and then you take it to the next stage when you convert into customers. So those are my five steps: positioning, prospecting, connecting, engaging, and converting. So hopefully this made sense. I mean,
Yeah.
simple question but long answer.
Yeah, no, actually, I love the part where you talk about, the whole funnel being inverted, and you say start with a laser focused customer group that you want to prospect or you want to reach out to. Because at the end of the day, we do see a lot of noise going around big platforms like LinkedIn, where everyone's trying to make conversations, but also a lot of people are just trying to just get in your inbox, but let's try to make it meaningful. So I love what you sort of just explained about the magic five formula. And it's interesting, and I believe that a lot of our listeners would find that quite useful and really see the value from implementing this in their own business strategies. So, Dennis, it's been lovely understanding more about the book. And can you tell us where, if somebody wants to get the book, how do they go about with it or get in touch with you? How should they reach out to you?
Thanks, Kira, for that. Yes, the book is available on Amazon. It's available globally on Amazon on, I don't know, about 10 different shops around the world. So they can purchase it from there, both in printed version as well as digital version. But in terms of getting in touch with me, yes, absolutely, I'll be delighted to hear from your audience. They can easily find me on LinkedIn, send me a direct message or connection, and I would be more than happy to see them in one of my events. When you find me on LinkedIn, you will find my event. So please come along my free event and learn a little bit more about my 5 steps. So looking forward to meeting you all.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thanks, Dennis. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, Kirat.